Hello, everybody. It's Takuma Robinson. Thank you for listening to the next episode of Authentic. Today, I have another guest, Jonathan McDonald. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having
with
me.
us. I've known Jonathan for a few years now. I met him through the martial arts, and then we've kept up through social media. I just found him to be a very interesting guy, a cool guy. So I asked if he'll join, and
I appreciate it.
It was nice of him to oblige.
Thank you.
Obviously, I'm still here with Leonardo Barina, my co-host.
Here we are.
Right.
And so, thanks for joining. And let's go ahead and get started. So, I always start with a background. So, just kind of tell me about you. Tell me where you grew up. Tell me how you.
Yeah. Well, first off, congrats on the podcast.
Thank you.
And I'm told I have a face for radio. So if you want to turn this to an audio cast, that's my joke of the day. It's been, you and I met through the martial arts, and it's great keeping up with you and your success. So again, congrats on that. Yeah, I know my blonde hair doesn't give it away, but I am 53 years old. I was born in Paducah, Kentucky.
Okay.
So Midwest. My father was a Baptist preacher.
Oh, wow.
So that explains a lot of my problems. He got called to preach in Virginia, so we actually ended up moving when I was about 3 years old.
Okay.
I have a younger brother, so it's my dad and mom and me and my younger brother moved to Bedford County, Virginia, when I was 3. So that was 1975-ish.
Where's Bedford County?
Bedford County is south of Roanoke and Lynchburg.
Okay.
About 40 minutes.
Okay.
Or so. And not to get into the details, my father passed away when I was 8, when I was young, unnaturally. So my mom ended up remarrying, and that thrust us into this completely different. I mean, I went from, preacher's kid in church every day to my mom married this wealthy retired mortgage guy who was also a born-again Christian, but and very strict, but completely different lifestyle. He had a nice house on Smith Mountain Lake, which is in Bedford County, Manita, Virginia. That's 500 miles of shoreline.
Wow.
So I got thrust into this mega house. He had his own kids, so he didn't treat us all that great. But we had, the luck. I grew up hunting and fishing. He got me into golf. We did a lot of boating. So I just, I was kind of in the country around tobacco farms, a bunch of rednecks, But it kind of gave me exposure to a lot of different personalities, and so I've got this dad, the stepdad who's a very wealthy business guy, and then I've got friends who are out there, chewing tobacco and smoking it, and three-wheeling back then. This is when three-wheelers were legal.
Oh wow!
But so that was kind of my childhood. But again, I got exposed and I got introduced to a lot of good things that have actually paid off in my life and have contributed to what I consider being very blessed and successful. But he got us into music, so we started taking piano lessons when I was young. My brother, both of us. And I ended up playing for the church. So, I was 13 years old playing for a full-up Baptist church, showing up on Sunday morning, and they would throw, they'd have a list of 4 or 5 hymns that I had to play, sight read. I had never played them before in my life. You got a hymn book with 400 pages.
Yeah.
Be flip to page 47, just as I am. I'm oh, this has 6 flats. Oh man. But, I plowed through it. Yeah. And so that kind of gave me, a good music.
Were you playing the piano, the keyboard? Because you
playing
used to do the organ when we were.
Yeah, no, this was straight up piano.
Okay.
Acoustic piano. I don't even know if they didn't really have keyboards back then. I'm dating myself. Probably a Baldwin piano or a Yamaha, upright. At home, we had, so I did a lot. There's all kinds of places we can go with this, but my stepdad was he was a slave driver, man. Work. We had to clean the house every weekend. He would go through with a white glove and inspect. He was a former Navy guy. This guy was
military.
But and we had 5 acres of land that I would cut by hand with a lawnmower with a bag and empty the bag, man. It was a 6, 7, 8 hour Saturday. But my brother wouldn't do it. He would complain, but I would just do it. So my stepdad just ended up liking me more. Yeah. So I think that's why he bought me some golf clubs one summer and got me out there. He was a realtor at that time, and so I'd go play golf with him and his buddies. So I got really good at golf. And then, he got me my first synthesizer. So that, man, that was huge. I remember the smell of the box opening it. It was just the coolest thing ever. And But, and I know I'm jumping around, he was a born again Christian, so I was not allowed to listen to secular music at all growing up. Nothing. It had to be Christian music. You know, we actually sang as a trio. My brother, myself, and my mom toured churches singing.
Wow. Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But luckily, we had a detached garage that was a little bit of a walk up the hill at the lake, and that's where my synthesizer was. So I'd sneak up there at night and turn on the radio. Dude, I learned Taylor Dane songs, Bon Jovi,
Oh yeah.
Journey, like, but if I ever got caught, I would have just been crushed. Like it was. So, but I would sneak out there, and that's how I learned how to play by ear. So I was trained classically,
Oh really?
but then just because I wanted to be cool, I wanted to get a girlfriend. You know, classical isn't always the sexiest thing in the world. So I learned how to play by ear, and that, you know, I can still play today because so. Anyway, so the music part stuck with me. The golf part stuck with me. My brother ended up going to college. He played for Montreat Anderson. He played soccer.
Oh, I didn't
I
know
played
that.
soccer in high school. I was
Okay, I
fullback.
didn't know that.
Yeah. I played golf in high school also. Small private school. But we ended up, my parents moved out to Forest, Virginia, which is right near Lynchburg, Virginia. And I was working a dead end job. I mean, I was playing in bands, getting home at 3, 4 in the morning. My stepdad kicked me out of the house because he smelled alcohol, and everything I was doing was anti-Christian. So I had to go find a roommate, and I was making back then I was making $5 an hour, and I was doing electronics for this big nuclear company called Framatome. It was Babcock and Wilcox. Anyway, getting paid nothing and going nowhere. And you know, I go see movies, and I saw Clear and Present Danger, which is about, if I recall, about a Marine doing security. And I was like, you know what? I want to be a Navy SEAL. Like, I'm doing it. So I went to the Navy, and I couldn't pass the eye exam.
Okay.
And this is back in the early 90s when laser surgery, even if it was a thing, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, let me go talk to the Marines. And the guy's like, I took the ASVAB, that's the military kind of the standardized test. And not to thump my chest, because I thought it was the easiest thing I've ever taken. The guy came back and he's like, dude, you need to be a nuclear engineer. He's like, you just waxed this test. And I was like, well, I just added like 2 and 3, and that was 5. And then it seemed like really easy stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't think the military standards on those tests are too high.
Okay.
But he's like, no, you need to go Navy nuclear engineering. I'm like, no, dude. Like, I do not want to be stuck in a submarine. Like, I want to go kill bad guys. I really do. I'm all about. I'm a patriot.
Yeah.
I want to go take care. And that sounds bad, but hey, that's what Marines do. And he's like, what? You want to be infantry? I'm like, yep. And he's like, okay. So he took me out for a few beers, signed me up, and then that was that ship sailed. So I joined the Marines in 1993.
Do you
How old
think
were you?
that? How old? He's
20. I was 20.
20?
Yeah. There was I graduated high school in '89.
Yeah.
And I went to Liberty University for a year, and that was not a good idea. I mean, I was getting in so much trouble. I was sneaking in. You know, the RAs you got to be in there by 10 o'clock. I'm very anti-discipline, anti-authority. Thank you. I'm also a little bit of a troublemaker, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So I like to buck the system. Yeah. So I went through failing. I was not doing well, and so I just went into construction and did some odd jobs, like I mentioned. Making the $5 an hour, and then I was like, you know what? The only way I'm going to get out of Lynchburg, Virginia, is to join the military, and that was the best thing I ever did.
That's what I was going to ask you. So your motivation was just to leave. It had nothing to do with necessarily your influence from your stepfather or anything like that. It was just
Not really. Like, so my uncle was Navy. His father, Purple Heart Navy corpsman. Like, military is in the family.
Yeah.
But I was never raised like you should go in the military. Like, you know, and my stepdad actually would have been a reason why I wouldn't have gone in the military, because that guy was a prick.
But
God,
he liked
God rest his soul. I don't know. He liked the hard work I did. He liked me cutting the grass and picking up all the acorns on 5 acres of land is what he liked. But yeah, I just kind of like, when I saw the movie and I was like, man, that's cool. I'd really like to do something that's worth something. And I'm not going to go anywhere if I stay in Lynchburg, Virginia. It was a dead end job, and like I had no degree. I'm like, what could I possibly do just to force myself out of this little space I'm in? Yeah. And military I got lucky, I guess. I was like, this is the only thing I can think of, because I didn't have any motivation to go to college. Yeah. None.
Yeah.
You know.
So what was your experience like You joined the Marines.
Yeah, best thing I ever did. I mean, it was scary. You know, I went to Paris Island. That's, you know, that's no walk in the park. It was early summer when I went in, so it was hot as all get out, right? I mean, you know, I graduated boot camp in early July, and there were people just dropping like flies on the parade deck. It was so hot. You know, you're standing out there doing your parade when you're, you know, it was just hot. But they teach a lot of cool things, you know, and Marines, not to put down the other branches at all. But Marines have a certain standard, you know, the boot camp's the hardest. So, you know, we learned a lot of really neat things. And I was infantry, so right out of boot camp, we get a little week of leave. I get to go home and see my girlfriend for a week. My parents are like, what the hell, we chopped liver? I'm like, no, there's a girl that I've been girls for 3 months. Yeah. Do I need to say anything else? But then we went back to Camp Lejeune to School of Infantry, which is Camp Devil Dog and the SOI School of Infantry training. And that's where you learn like all the weapon stuff. Blindfolded, I mean, dark, you had to be able to take those things, put them back together, blindfolded in the dark. Like, just think about a war situation, right? It was intense. And I was always kind of a big guy, so keeping up with the running was not easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I never fell out, because you fall out, then you're just done. You had to keep up. But that was brutal. But the pull-ups, you know, I could sit ups, that was all day. The cool thing, we were at School of Infantry, and this is how, I mean, it's just crazy how your life twists and turns, right? So we're out in the woods. We've been out in the woods for 3 weeks straight, you know, smelly, just like ragged, you know, doing night navigation, no sleep, just, you know, we're all like junior enlisted people. Like, so we get treated like crap and everything. Yeah, that's the way it goes. We had these people from Washington, D.C. show up, and they're in their nice uniform, and we're like, what the heck is going on? They're like, we're here from 8th and I Marine Barracks, where they do the honor guard. And he's like, anyone interested, let us know, but you got to be 6 feet or taller. So people walked away. I hit that one. They're like, anyone have any convictions? Well, half the people left because we had to get a security clearance. And so there were about 6 or 7 of us left standing in that group. And they said, you know, are you interested? And we're like, yeah, because my girlfriend was in Lynchburg, which is a few hours away. Get a security clearance, you get to work around the White House, you get to be on TV. You don't have to go to the field quite as much as a normal infantry guy, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, sign me up. So that's how I got recruited to Washington, D.C. and started off as a marcher. That's when they have the Thursday night parades at the Iwo Jima Memorial. If you ever go out there, dude, it's the coolest thing you've ever seen. Silent drill team shows up, and then the entire battalion's out there with.
I don't know about this. So
you should go
on Thursdays.
On Thursday nights during the summer.
Oh,
yeah, at the Iwo Jima Memorial.
Yeah, that's in
Arlington.
Yeah,
right near right near the And then on Friday nights during the summer at 8th and I, they have the full up 8th and I parade. I mean, it is badass. Like, solid drill team comes out there and does their show. Got the whole battalion out there. Got the Marine, the President's Own. That's the Marine band is out there. It's really cool. It's very motivating. So I marched in that for a while, and then I got recruited by 2 different divisions. The silent drill team wanted me to come on there, and my roommate was a silent drill team guy, and I was like, dude, if you're watching, they slap. I mean, they hold the rifle. They're training for 8 to 10 hours a day because they're on TV. They have to be absolutely perfect because they go to Super Bowl shows, halftime shows. I mean, these guys are badass. And I was like, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that. My roommate would wake up with bruises on his legs from the way they slap, and sometimes I'd have to help him uncurl his hands, his fingers, because that's how they train. I was like, nah. But there's another unit called the Body Bearers, and they did all the burials at Arlington. Wow, and they approached me, and they're like, would you like to join our group? A bunch of guys had just gotten busted for steroids, so they had some openings. That's how I got in. I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. So we got to work out every day. There was a strength test even to get in. You had to bench 225 for 10. You had to curl 135 for 10. We had to squat 315 for 10 just to get it, just for them to look at you. That was the coolest thing I ever did. I mean, I've probably done over 500 funerals at Arlington Cemetery. I was there for 3 years. Usually a 2-year duty, but they keep a couple people on to train the new guys coming in. So I got to stay. And so many stories, man.
What was that like? I mean,
It's crazy.
yeah. I mean, that's pretty heavy.
Very, very heavy.
That's a workout. That's the
Well, that too. That's heavy in a couple different ways. Well done. Yeah, that's why you have him sitting here. What's that called? A double entendre?
Yeah,
That's
double
that single. Yeah. Yeah, it was heavy. So, if you've ever been, in the military, there's certain criteria to get buried in Arlington. And I don't know what the current rules are, but back then you had to have certain kind of awards. Not everyone could get buried because Arlington fills up. I mean, it sounds horrible, but that's true.
Yeah.
So they actually will bury people on top of each other, like families,
Oh,
deep,
interesting.
just to keep the space.
Yeah.
But if you're like a retired general or, retired colonel or, any special, like those guys get full honors. Like, we would sometimes do 2 or 3 funerals a day.
Oh, wow.
We'd also bury, though, the worst ones were the active duty people that died in training because they're young families and they'd be
Died
out there.
in training?
Yeah, die in training. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All kinds of training accidents. Yeah. I mean, stuff you don't hear on the news.
Yeah, right.
But then you got young families out there and we're young and you're like, this could have been me
Yeah.
or this could be my family.
Yeah.
The worst ones were burying kids. So sometimes we'd have to bury the kids of an active duty
And
you
they
know,
get buried in Arlington
little
Cemetery
casket
as well?
No, those were typically out in town is what we called them. So like Baltimore, Northern Virginia, any cemetery in the area where we could access it within a day's trip. If they didn't rate to get into Arlington, we would bury them out in town or out in a local cemetery. Those were wacky sometimes. So as year 2, year 3, I was a corporal. Then I got promoted to sergeant before I got out. But I was the NCOIC, the non-commissioned officer in charge.
Okay.
Whoever that was, after you fold the flag, and I don't know if you guys have seen these.
Yeah.
You should Google this stuff,
I'm a
man.
military family as well.
Yeah.
I've seen it. My grandfather, he had a military funeral as
Okay.
well, and they did the whole flag
Yeah,
thing and
right.
Gave it to my grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, not to get too religious, but we hated Catholic funerals because I was about an hour of holding that thing like a cracker versus the Protestant ones for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And then we had this hidden thing too where if the family was behind me and let's say you're on the box, we're holding the flag,
Yeah.
I'd be like trying to make you laugh just
Oh,
to,
yeah.
but you don't do that. Or you're out, right? But we just mess with each other. There's a lot of games that went on.
Yeah.
But if you're on the outside of that flag, you're pulling against the other guy for an hour. I mean,
You said 135-pound curls.
Curls.
10.
Yeah.
So
I'm not even talking about.
that's why I said that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about how heavy these caskets were either. This is a whole nother episode on caskets. Jewish caskets have no handles. They have grooves underneath, and you talk about an 800-pound casket, and there's only 6 of us. So the Marines, we got to do everything better than everybody else. We only have 6 people on the casket, where others will have maybe 8.
yeah.
But the way you have to carry a Jewish casket under the grooves, and then Marines, once we get over the hole, the final salute to the fallen, we do over our head. That's why we had to be able to
The overpressure.
be strong. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, we had heavy. I mean,
So I'm sure you were in shape.
we were dude. I was in the best shape. I know it's embarrassing. Yeah. I mean, let's see. I was 230 running 3 miles in 22 minutes. I could squat 495 for 10. I was benching
So
350.
why didn't you go? You should have been in the
Wow.
NFL.
Dude, that tells you what level these guys are at in
Yeah.
the NFL. I actually had a guy that was served with me who could run faster than me, and that guy was like probably 270, 280, and I was a pretty fast runner. And he would curl 225. This guy was a monster.
225.
Yes, curl for 10. He was a beast, man.
I'm doing curls with 20 right now.
Dude, it was his... And he tried it for the Redskins and didn't make it. I'm like, okay, I don't have a shot. I want to go back to golf and play piano. Yeah. So anyway, I got a security clearance, did the burials, met a lot of cool people. Actually, sometimes we get attached to special things going on. I got attached to President Clinton for his second inauguration. So I was part of his security detail.
Okay.
Really cool guy, by the way.
Is he?
Yeah. His wife, not so much. But yeah, it's super cool. I got to meet the really cool people. And that kind of launched me into this, like, I had a security clearance to stay in that space.
Yeah.
So it really opened up a lot of opportunity for me to consult. So I was actually consulting to the intelligence community for quite a while. I was actually at the National Reconnaissance Office on 9/11.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when that's out in Chantilly. Yeah. But anyway, that kind of got me into this public sector government, helping solve some mission critical things.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were never, obviously at that time there was no war, so there was no reason to be safe.
There were a couple going on that no one, so good question. So School of Infantry, we show up to graduate and they're like, pick a name. You're going to Bosnia, Kosovo. There's some excursions going on. McDonald, you're going to DC. I was like, wait, what? Because we were trained to fight, and we all kind of wanted to fight, but at the end of the day, you don't really, war is not pretty, right? So just by luck of the draw, half of my friends went to Bosnia and Kosovo, and who knows what happened. I mean, there was some really crappy stuff going on over there. And I got to DC where I got to be a pretty boy, and I was on TV and got to work out, So, and what's funny is when you talk to military guys that were in the fleet the whole time, they call us pretty boys and they're jealous. You weren't a real Marine. I'm like, no, I went through everything you did.
Yeah, right. You just weren't smart enough.
Exactly, right? Pretty enough. You weren't pretty enough. No. Like I said, I got a face for radio. But no, so great question. So but I didn't get to, so I was, DC and
no, that's great.
got to bounce on the side. So I bounced at half the bars in DC. What else do Marines do on the weekend? You got to make some money. I mean, we're probably making 25 cents an hour if you think about it.
Right. So you've always been in the sort of the DC, Virginia, Maryland area.
Yeah, my wife. I met my wife in '94ish. Hope she doesn't watch this.
Around there.
She actually got pregnant as I was getting ready to get out of the Marines, and they tried to get me to re-enlist. They wanted me to be the driver for the Commandant of the Marine Corps, which would have been super cool.
Okay.
And counterterrorism training, and I would have learned all kinds of cool stuff. But it's like, I look at 45-year-old Marines at the time, and they look like they're 90. And I was like, you know what? Yeah. I think I want to take care of my family and actually go to school, get a job, and try to make some money. Which is scary. That's really scary to do.
Yeah.
A lot of military guys get stuck.
What made you decide to go to school? You said you hated school, or
yeah. You know what? The Marine Corps woke me up to reality. What are your options? And a lot of infantry, it doesn't translate well except into law enforcement or security work.
Not in the civilian life.
Right. I mean, I could iron a shirt all day. I mean, I could put creases. Because my uniforms always had to be perfect, right?
Clean your gun.
Yeah, I could buff the floor. Oh my God, the shiniest floor you've ever seen. But in terms of the occupation, it's kind of limited. So I saw that I didn't have a lot of options. I now look back and wish I would have been more motivated and focused at school. I just needed something to wake me up. Yeah. And the military did that. And so I had this renewed fire or new fire to you know what? And with the kid on the way, I got to go.
Get stuff together.
Yeah.
Get stuff together.
Yeah. So I tried to get into Virginia Tech. They said no. I was going to after kinesiology, which is
Lynchburg. I assumed you went to VTech.
No, I didn't. They wouldn't. I applied for kinesiology, which is sports medicine. Yeah. I had my CO wrote a letter. He was from Annapolis. He was a football player. I mean, this guy was badass. Yeah. They said no. But it's the best thing that ever happened to me because I was like, you know what? I'll try to go to University of Maryland, and they had the business school.
Yeah.
Right. So
Robert
H. Smith. Yeah. So I went there for undergrad. Got statistics and technology was my undergrad degree, and then I went straight got my MBA.
Yeah.
But again, I had this fire and this. I got to take care of my family. Marines really kind of opened my eyes to what to appreciate in life. Mm-hmm. I mean, even in boot camp, we weren't allowed to listen to any music for 3 months. No phone. I got 2 phone calls the entire time because I got 100 on my test. There you have 3 phases. And I got the best score in 2 of the phases out of the 3. So I got the one phone call. I tried calling my girlfriend. She didn't answer. That was done.
No.
My second one, I got a hold of my mom. You got about 60 seconds because Marines are assholes. You got 60, 40, 10, 1, you're done. Hang up, I love you. Little things like that make you appreciate the things in life that you never. I mean, I never appreciated music. We weren't. I couldn't drink sodas at boot camp. You're drinking the best or eating the best food. You can't eat candy bars and
Wow.
So no music. I mean, oh my God. So yeah, I was in this different headspace.
Okay.
And I wanted to make some money, and I wanted to provide for my family.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So then you moved. You graduated, obviously, and then you ended up getting into data sourcing, and I don't know how you explain what you think.
Yeah. So as I was working full time, well, as I was going to school full time, I was working full time. So I was a consultant to the intelligence community on doing some classified things, but it was around software development and taking data that was collected, let's say in the world, and then kind of compile that data and then provide that to headquarters, to the decision makers to decide what to do next. So there's a lot of intelligence gathering. I was just managing a team that developed a software that helped collect that information and then serve it up. My first big VP job was at LexisNexis, which started off as a research company, but they have a division called their risk division, right? And it's insurance, finance, public sector / government, and risk meaning they have data that those industries can leverage to assess a risk on an individual. Let's say someone applying for insurance. What kind of risk are you, and what should they charge you? Z-score and stuff like that. For public sector, it's, is there an ongoing investigation where you have some clues? You might have license plate information, you might have an address, you might have seen something happen, but you have no idea who that was. You saw the color of the car. That information is out there, and LexisNexis had compiled that information. And a public sector within, heavy regulated laws, if there's an ongoing investigation, could actually search that information and find out within seconds who that probably was.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, we were in Montgomery County in Gaithersburg, saw a black SUV. I saw 3 digits of that license plate, and it was in this area. They could run a search on that, and we would say it's one of these 2 people.
Oh, wow.
That fast.
Wow.
That was super cool. So, and we also did some classified stuff I can't talk about, but it was all really cool, like actually saving lives. Like this is like, talk about the pointed into the spear. I was right there. We were actually doing some really cool stuff. And so, I kind of stayed in that, like that swim lane. I went to a software company that did master data management, and that's just a sexy term for a lot of disparate data sources out there, Excel spreadsheets, or, there's hospitals with their own databases. We were able to combine and integrate all that data and show them one master golden record of Tacoma or John, whatever. Yeah. And there's a lot of benefit there because one hospital might have recorded that you're allergic to penicillin. Another hospital might have not noticed that. They might have your name spelled wrong. Yeah. We were able to sift through all that crap and present like a golden record, like a patient record, if you will. Yeah. And there's a lot of applicability to government for that.
Yeah. So let's switch subjects. So what got you into martial arts?
Yeah, so great question. So in the Marines, when I was this is before the Marine Corps started teaching jiu-jitsu because they've kind of upped their game, right? This is, I'm dating myself again. We had something called line training, and everything ended with a kill.
Okay.
Like, we all wore combat boots. It was finish you, and then my heels on the bridge of your nose, crushing your skull. Okay. I know this sounds really, but that's what,
That's what it was.
Yeah. So that was kind of my introduction into, we did some arm bars and a lot of leverage points, but at the end of the day, it was getting someone down and just crushing their face. All right. So, break, got into civilian life, and I was working out and, I'd run some half marathons with my wife. But I was just feeling really crap. I mean, in the Marines, I was in the best shape of my life, and I was okay walking around without a shirt on at the beach.
Yeah.
I wanted a way to get back in shape, but also I've always kind of been interested in martial arts, right? I knew Rick Tavares because I had hired him. I'd actually seen him cage fight in Virginia because I knew his brother. Okay. His brother worked for me at one of the company I was at, and I saw Rick. I got the guy in a triangle choking about 30 seconds in the cage.
That guy is crazy, man.
And then I found out he had his PMP, his project manager, And I was like, I need a project manager. And I obviously had the work ethic. Yeah. So I ended up hiring him at what company I worked for. Okay. But just seeing that, and I was like, wow, this is impressive, man. And, he's in good shape, and I want to get back in good shape. So it was kind of a combination of that. And then I can't remember who introduced me. I think I found Mike Moses just on the internet. Yeah. And he was local. Yeah. And we were living out in Aurora Hills, out in Clarksburg.
Far, yeah.
Yeah. Easy. So, and then they offered a military discount for vets. That's cool. and I liked him,
Yeah.
and so that kind of got me into it.
Okay.
And so I trained, Muay Thai, and then I trained jiu-jitsu. I did gi and no gi, but I did compete in a couple Naga things.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So, I mean, let's see. So, gi, I was advanced white. No gi, I was blue.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, I think I only made it to green.
Okay.
Muay
I
Thai.
knew you more doing a lot more stand up.
Yeah. I know. I remember like kicking you a couple times. You're like, dude, but you're fast. I'm like, you're like,
But I don't know how tall are you?
6'1".
You're
Or used to be.
6'1"? Oh, he seemed like you were taller.
Well, I appreciate
You're
that. I used to be. I don't know.
No, you're 6'1". He's not 6'1", right?
No, you're taller.
Oh, okay. I'll take the compliment. 53, my spine's compressing, so I might be 4'3". I don't know, man. But 6'1", 6'2", something like that. Yeah. But no, it was, dude. I mean, the cardio. I got in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
I just, broke a couple things, rolling and rib and toes, and and then life gets in the way, and then I got lazy, and then I've just been out of it for 10, 11 years. I mean, I still know the fundamentals.
Yeah.
It's actually come in handy a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been, yeah. I don't know if I should share this story. There's a video, but it got taken down. There's some people that were recording it. Some guy attacked me in like a Walgreens. I said something. Yeah, he was being an asshole to one of the guys at the register, and my guy at the register. I'm like, "Do you guys have to put up with this BS all night?" And the guy heard me. I was like, "What'd you say?" And I was like, "I wasn't talking to you."
Yeah.
And he just bum rushed me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it turned into 2 minutes of he shouldn't have done that.
I don't know why people would even try that.
You just never know with people on the street. I don't understand why people try other people. You just never know.
But he was with another guy, and that guy fled. I mean, he sprinted away.
Oh wow.
And I lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough said.
But when I was done, I was like, "You guys need me to hang around for the cops?" They're like, "Nope, you're good. Like we saw it. Thank you."
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anyway, I need to get back into it. Actually, it was so good. It was, I was doing 2 or 3 classes every other day. Rolling and stand up and the cardio, burning calories.
Just seeing you in there.
Yeah, you still go?
I just got back. Yeah, I go. But it's hard, like you said. Life has moved on. My kids are in sports, and
Yeah.
got
Still
a
in
lot
great
of other
shape,
things.
man.
Yeah,
You
there's
look
so much
jacked.
time in the day. You
Yeah.
know? But when I can, I go. So I'll go maybe a couple times a week.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Good.
What do you do? Saturday
Yeah, typically
and
Friday and Saturday.
like a Thursday.
Thursday or Friday, and then I go on Saturday.
Then you go into Mike's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike's, yeah.
Yeah. So I see Zach moved up to
He's
Frederick,
up in
right?
Frederick.
Yeah.
Kenny's out in Laurel or something.
Yeah. I like Zach. He was a great guy.
Ray and Ray and
Yeah, I
Mark,
remember Ray.
they're out in Poolsville.
Ray's jacked.
They up-
Holy cow.
He's like a professional wrestler.
I saw that.
man.
I know my friends on Facebook. Dude, he used to wrap me up like a pretzel. He's a black belt,
Yeah.
in jiu-jitsu, like legit. And I was not,
You're
I'm
not a
not
small
strong.
guy.
I'm not weak. I'm not as strong as I used to be. But I was pretty strong back then, especially in defense. And that guy would wrap me up a pretzel in like 30 seconds. I'm like,
I'm always surprised by Mike. His like
Master Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy is.
he never changes. Like
Yeah.
the first time I think I saw him when I was like 5. First time I came here, he still looks the same to me.
He does.
It's-
The only thing changed a little bit was his hair.
Yeah,
Don't tell him to watch this. No, he looks exactly the same, doesn't he?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
He and I get along really well.
yeah, he was a Marine too. So
Yeah.
I have that in common.
Yeah. There's another guy, Pat Trey. He's a Trident.
Yeah,
SEAL team.
that's down in Virginia, right?
Yeah. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy's badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was SEAL Team 6 Green Team. Like, he trained the guy that shot Osama in the face.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I ran into Rob O'Neill
Yeah.
in O'Hare Airport. When I worked for TransUnion, they're headquartered in Chicago.
Chicago.
And I was at O'Hare, and I walk out waiting for my Uber. And I was like, "Do I know you?" He's like, "You probably see me on Fox News." I'm like, "I know who you are, dude, Rob O'Neill." And I was like, "You know Pat Trey?" And he's like, "How the hell do you know Pat Trey?" I'm like, "Dude, I trained with him." And he's like, "What?" And then Rob started thanking me for my service. I'm like, talking about? He was cool. He's a cool guy. But no, Pat's really cool. Pat would he would come like corner for us when I did Naga just to be nice because he'd have his team out there, and if he saw me or my kids competing, he would come over if he had time and coach us during a grappling session. He's just a really good guy. Okay. So anyway, it's a small circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch subjects again. So you've been here, you're a Marine. Obviously, I know that you're patriotic. So I always ask everybody, what does America stand for you? What do you get out of the country? What do you make of the country? What do you think the ideals are that you try to promote?
That's a tough one.
Oh, it's different. I asked the question because I feel like sometimes it's hard to understand where people come from unless you understand what they value.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I ask them, always curious what people would say.
Yeah. Good question. That's a deep one. So I think treating everyone the same is extremely important. I've been on the other end of racism, by the way. So
I can believe it.
You know, because my grandmother lived in the projects. Mm-hmm. You know, I can't tell you how many times I got, you know, knives drawn on me and, you know, like really violent situations where I was like, oh, I could die. So, I mean, I think first off, and then being in the military, there's no color. Yeah. You know what I mean? So very early on, I was taught, and that was a core value of mine, is like, I don't care what the color of your skin is or your accent or what, everyone should be treated the same, and everyone's worth as much as the next person. Yeah. Unless you're just an evil person, and that's a different thing. Yes. You know, I think, man, it's a slippery slope in terms of, I love helping out other countries, right? I think, you know, we're blessed, and I think that it's our duty to help out the less fortunate. Mm-hmm. But how far do you go? Well, you know what I mean? And that's what we're grappling with Ukraine right now, as an example. Yeah. And then are we helping out another country to the detriment of our own folks in the U.S., let's say? I'm glad I don't have to figure that out. Yeah. You know, but still, I think we should, and even as people here in the U.S., you know, I'm very fortunate, and I feel like it's kind of my duty, you know, I'm kind of forced to through taxes. I pay a lot of them. But no, I think more fortunate folks, I think it's just a core value and a requirement, I think, is to help out the less fortunate in whatever way. It doesn't have to be monetary, be time, volunteering, you know, things like that. Obviously, as a Marine, you know, defending our country is, you know, I think is a no-brainer. We have to, you know. I think, you know, as a parent, you know, instilling, not relying on the education system or others, I think it's on us to teach our kids the right values, you know, and what's right and what's wrong. And again, you know, I've got 3 boys who have big, strong personalities, and we're going to disagree, you know. And like, if I look at all 3 of them, they all have different political views. This is interesting. But at least telling them what my opinions, what my values are and why, and what I've learned over the years and what I've seen and observed, and then having that like healthy conversation, I think is key as a family, as a parent. Yeah. You know, family. I
find it interesting that you said that your kids have 3 different political views, because I've always found that a lot of times a person's political views is based on their experience. Right. I mean, that's all you really have to base it on. Yep. And so, but if they're in the same household and they've had very similar experiences, it's weird that they have 3 different views.
Isn't it?
You know? Yeah. So.
But you know, there's been so my mother-in-law has her views. Mm-hmm. We moved her in about 7 years ago, going on 10,000 years ago. Okay. So there's some of that. Discussions are had where I'm not around. Yeah. And she's liberal. Yeah. My wife's in the middle. Okay. I'm a little more right. Yeah. I mean, not right. I am right, but I'm on the right. No, I'm kidding. It was a bad joke. So I think, you know, just different conversations, whether they're talking to my wife, they're going to get a different slant. Yeah. Whether they're talking to me, and also periods in their life as well, right? Yeah. So, it's true though. Like my oldest is like super hardcore, like right side. Yeah. My middle one's kind of in the middle. You know, he sees the goods and bads of everything. The administrations, you know, that come and go, and then my youngest tends to be a little more on the left side. You know, but it's all healthy, and we, you know. And the other thing is, I don't want to be that parent that forces or
Their view.
ostracizes because they disagree with me. I don't think that's fair at all.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
No, you 100% did.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily it was more on a granular level than I was thinking.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a good answer in terms of that's your views on things. So
yeah.
I find that one common thing I've found from talking to 6, 7, 8 people now is there's a lot more overlap than I expected. You know, because sometimes when I listen to people talk, I question, what do you actually view the country to be like or whatever. But when I actually sit and talk to them, there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
It's not as varied as I expected, you know. So
I think there's some crazy people, though. We haven't touched on it. There's some crazy people right now.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's more exposed or we're getting more exposure to it because of social media and the news.
yeah,
I'm like, man, there's some real whack jobs out there.
Yeah,
Again, because they differ from me. No, I'm
yeah,
kidding. I just don't understand. It's so some people are so ready. And by the way, it's on both sides.
Yeah.
People dig in their heels.
yeah,
And if Biden says it, they're completely against it because Biden said it, or if Trump said it, they're completely against it. 'Cause-
Trump said it, right?
Yeah, instead of like, I just try to look at things and be like, does it make sense? Is it
Right.
humane?
Yeah.
You know, is the country going to be better off
Right.
because of these decisions? And that's kind of how I try to look at it. I try to be a little more common sense
Yeah.
and less, you know, just being argumentative or agreeing with one side just because I feel like I can't abandon them or
Right.
I'm already stuck over here. So now I got to fight you on everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I found that to be true. I mean, I don't think we view the world, I don't think our politics align 100% at all.
Right.
But I've always felt like you've been respectful and you're thoughtful. And that was one of the reasons why I asked you to join, because regardless of what we view the world, I do believe that you love the country.
Yeah.
That's pretty evident for me from watching you and for many years. And you've always been able to articulate your point of view respectfully and, you know.
I appreciate that.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I found that's been
Every once in a while I'll go downhill real fast if someone starts getting personal. I don't deal well with that, but I try to be respectful, you know, and I know I'm not perfect and I know we all have our own views and our own, like you said, our own experiences
Yeah.
and backgrounds.
Yeah.
So no, I appreciate that you said that.
Yeah.
And it's mutual.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And you have some really good insights too on Facebook, by the way. I don't know where you come up with some of
Thank
these
you. I
deep
stopped-
thoughts, man, but
That's actually one of the reasons I felt like I don't have a good pulse right now on what's going on. And there are many reasons why I decided to start talking to people, but I just wanted to get other people's, because I felt like sometimes I see the way people act or the way people respond to what's going on, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like the way I view the world, this seems so wrong or this seems so right, and you
Right.
see the total opposite. And
right.
I don't have a good pulse for what's going on, what people are going through, and sometimes you might get caught in your own bubble. So you just want to like talk to people and kind of get a better understanding of what's going on in the world and what they're dealing with.
Right.
So the last thing I want to ask you about what kind of things are inspiring you going forward? What are you planning on in the future? What gets you up and gets you hopeful?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, when I was at TransUnion, I was very blessed to make some money to start getting into other things that I had no experience with, right? So we IPO'd, I hired people smarter than me, and I was able to hit all my revenue targets in terms of growth. So I invested in equity, and the share price had gone up. I mean, and the stock market was kind of doing this, and so I decided to get into real estate investment.
Yeah.
And just by pure happenstance, there's a guy still works for me now. He retired with his partner in Cabo San Lucas, and he was doing realty on the side, but he was also one of my data guys.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, you know, we've known him forever, my wife and I. And he's like, you guys should come down to Cabo sometime. I live on a golf course. You can go play because I'm a golfer. Yeah. And we went down there and fell in love with it. I'm kind of a long-winded response to your question, but my wife's like, you know what? I might want to retire here, right? The people are amazing. The Mexican people are insanely, like, just good people. The food down there is insane.
Yeah.
The golf down there is insane. The best fishing in the world. The views. So, and by the way, my wife and I are more like beach viewers than beach sitters.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, so we listed out our criteria. Like, okay, we want to be on a resort near a golf course, member of a golf course, have views of the Pacific Ocean or Sea of Cortez.
Yeah.
Anyway, we bought a villa and not down there full time, just started renting it out. Well, that became a freaking money machine, like big time, especially when COVID hit. So everyone can work remotely. I mean, so we do short-term rentals and started making a lot of money. Well, we had no place to stay now because it's rented out.
Yeah.
So we bought a condo in the same neighborhood that actually was back, had even better views. And a year later, that condo doubled in value. And I was like, honey, I know we love our condo. and by the way, you buy these things furnished, and then my wife just like rips it out. She's like, and she lies to me. Oh yeah, honey, this is turnkey. I'm not going to touch a thing. 2 weeks later, it's like, she's Tasmanian devil, like, shit's flying everywhere. Like, oh my God. Yeah. We listed it 3 days on the market. It sold, doubled. So, and these are cash deals. So then I'm like, okay, we're on to something here, honey.
Yeah.
Like, so I started going down there more and looking for opportunities to invest in real estate, not land.
Yeah.
We did a build in.
We talked at one point in time about possibly because there was a lot next to your lot, and there were a couple of lots around there, and you were saying, "Hey, you should look into."
Yeah, we were messaging each other.
Should have listened to you.
Well, there's a few things I should have done that I hadn't done either. Right? You know what I'm saying? You always look back.
Yeah.
That's a different discussion because, I found out in life that it's okay to stick your neck out a little bit and stretch yourself and think about. From an income perspective, if you're doing all the right things, you're probably gonna be better off in a few years.
Yeah.
It's okay to bet on that future.
Yeah, right.
I wish I would have done that a few times. I have done it and it's paid off, but I wish I would have done it even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's still opportunity there. But my point was I've done 7 or 8 projects down there now where I bought, flipped, doubled or tripled my money within 9 months to a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, I'm at a spot now where, long-winded to answer your question,
No.
I love what I'm doing. I'll probably be at this company for another 5 to 7 years. I've got equity, if I got to hit certain revenue growth goals. But if I do that, and on the side, investing in the real estate market and continue to do well there, I really love the real estate stuff. Yeah. I love it. It's a lot of fun. And I love traveling to Cabo, and I get to play too. See me on the golf course. Yeah. So, I want to set it up so my kids don't have to worry, even though I keep telling them I'm going to spend all my money. So that I want them thinking that way. Like, I'm not leaving you anything, not to be mean, but you need to work. Yeah. But I don't really mean it. Yeah. But I do, I'm too young to retire. My wife won't let me. Yeah. And she likes the purses and the shoes. Yeah. And I like the shoes. So there's a little motivation. But no, I think to answer your question, I love growing businesses, and that's what I do on the tech side, on the information intelligence side. So that's why this company hired me. They're a small, publicly traded company, south of $80 million annual revenue. Yeah. But they brought me in to really explode their public sector business in a good way, like I did at TransUnion. So that's what because I like to hire good people, smart people. So if I'm successful at that, then I'm like, that's kind of where I want to be in the next 5 to 7 years. Yeah. And I really want to set us up for, again, my kids are okay. They're going to have assets anyway because I've got a lot of properties now, and I want to retire nicely somewhere and bounce between America and Mexico, and hopefully the walls aren't so high that I can't fly over. By the way, there have been times where I'm like, I don't want to go back to the States, man. Oh, yeah. I've been to Mexico, seriously, and again,
every time I look, you're there.
I'm there a lot.
That's why I asked you are you even in Maryland anymore?
Yeah, I know. I'm there a lot, especially with this new job I started last March, a year ago. Yeah. I can't play hooky quite as much, but I still go down there for closings and for, I've got a few realtors that work for me down there, and they'll say, hey, there's a property, you should come out and take a look. I'll fly down, take a look. Anyway, my point is I want to, my aspirations and goals is that my kids love me, even when I'm gone, that I take care of them so they're in a decent spot, even though I still want them to have the work ethic and not be spoiled rotten brats that think that rich daddy's going to, whatever. That didn't sound good, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, my wife and I to be comfortable. She's a rock star. My wife's like, she's in the best shape. She's actually in better shape now at 53. She's a few months older than me than she was when I met her in the Marines. Wow. Yeah. She's runner in the gym every day. She's going to way outlive me. So if she and I can retire, I got her into golf 3 or 4 years ago. So now we'll go out and play golf together. So, just having a good, comfy, so do I want to be the CEO of a company one day if it worked out? Maybe. But the next 7 to 10 years, I kind of want to be like, coast a little bit.
Yeah, you want that to be an option and not a reality.
Correct. Yeah. And I'm in a good spot where I don't feel like I have to do, when I was 20 or 30, I'm like, dude, I got to do something but now I'm in a spot where I can kind of be a little more picky.
A little segue, just because I have you and you have expertise here. You can't get mortgages in Mexico, right? Everything's cash.
So it's funny you asked that, man. You and I should go down and start a mortgage company down there. There's a couple popping up, but for the most part, I'd say 90% of the transactions are cash only, unless it's being developed. So the developer will actually finance on your behalf if you want to. So let's say it's community, and sometimes 3 to 5 year projects. You get it early, they'll say, hey, 25% cash down. We'll let you finance the remainder, or you pay us monthly.
Yeah.
They'll give you some fat
construction loan or something.
Yeah, and then some big interest rate, which you're like, but yeah. But there are a couple mortgage companies popping up, and then some of the brokers down there are now, as part of their service, are offering a mortgage piece. So, and the other option though is I'm the mortgager for the condo. So when I sold the condo,
seller financed.
They gave me 50%, seller financed, and I gave them a fat interest rate. I'm going to make good money off the interest. It's a 5-year loan that I gave them. So, yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, a lot of the stuff's cash.
Where's that cash going? It's all coming out of California?
Dude, it's Americans and Canadians.
Okay. Yeah. Is there a specific geographic area you're seeing?
I'd say Midwest to West.
Oh, really?
U.S.
Okay.
And then Canada's probably the same. A lot of Vancouver, a lot of middle Canada. But yeah, if you're buying something pre-owned, these people are rich and they don't want to deal with any financing, man. So you'll see a $12 million house on the market, cash. $50 million cash. I'm not buying those. Maybe one day. But yeah, it's hard, man. And a lot of these, it's mixed bag in personalities. Okay. Some of these people are decent people. Some of them are just pricks. Okay. So, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I've had really good luck. Like I said, the 7 or 8 projects I've done, this isn't going to sound great, but you have Mexican families where they probably got this land for free. Yeah. Okay. Or got it for cents on the, pesos on the peso. Yeah. And when they sell a property for 300, 500, $1 million, they are done.
Yeah. That's life changing.
And if you get that, when you know that comparables are probably double that, which, it's a lot of work there. Yeah. Everyone's making out.
Everybody comes out well.
Correct. Yeah. And then I'll sell to some rich dude from California. Or I sold 2 properties to one guy. He's the CEO of an electrician company in Vegas. So I guess he wires a lot of the casinos. I mean, this guy's mega money, former Air Force guy. He's bought like 2 properties from, I just put stupid prices on him. He's like, I want it. Okay. Cash. Okay. He's actually a nice guy. But yeah, it's fun. So
I've always been scared to invest overseas, just because I don't know. I try to stay with what I know, and I'm just like, I don't know how it works. I don't know what taxes are like. I don't know all those.
Can't fault you for that.
Huh?
You can't fault you for that. That's normal. I had people down there that I know and trust, and so I had a little bit of a leg up on that, and then I dabbled at first, right? So I kind of
got your feet
walked into it. Yeah. And then as I learned the deal, as a U.S. citizen, I do have my green card there, so I have permanent residency status. Okay. I'm not a Mexican citizen because I have to keep my clearance. I can't do that. Yeah. But you learn how the trust works, which you renew every 50 years, and it's just a couple grand or whatever it is, and then you get to keep it. You have a bank manages that trust, and then I've got like 4 realtors down there that know what they're doing, and they've taught me. Yeah, I've got an attorney down there, so their capital gains is a lot different. I don't know if I told you this. No. Yeah, so here in the U.S., they look at whatever you paid for this house 10, 15 years ago, and then they look at what you sell it at, and that's considered your profit, right? Yeah. In Mexico, they take a look at what the current market value is on your property and what you sell it at.
Oh, Interesting. So it has nothing to do with your basis in the property at
Correct.
all. It's just
So if you have a good attorney, yeah. Well, people complain about capital gains down there because it could be 30. There's a couple ways they do it. It could be 30% of your profit, but if you have a good attorney and it's legal, and this guy's Mexican attorney, and he's looking at all the comps, he's able to appreciate the value to a point where I've been very lucky with capital gains.
Okay.
But it's a lot different anyway.
Yeah.
But you and I should still have an opportunity. You just, it's getting a little saturated down there. It's a little harder to find. There's a lot of headwinds, right?
Okay.
The current economy.
Yeah.
Now a lot of equity holders are like, okay, I'm going to pause to see what happens over the next couple months with the stock market. But yeah, there's still opportunity down there.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's low risk again. I've already got my feet wet, so you can at least see that I've done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's scary. It was a little scary at first.
Would you go outside of Cabo or?
I've thought about it.
Okay.
I don't know where I'd go though. Like Spain, Italy. I've thought about some of those places. We've looked at Mexico City, but that stuff's it's everything's appreciated now. It's kind of like getting priced out. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Mexico City's really nice, by the way. It's like I feel like it's safer than New York.
Mexico City?
Yeah.
I would not have thought that.
Beautiful.
It's in a valley, right? And there's like cajillion people that live there, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And half of it's like kind of sinking. It was all built. Dude, the history there is insane. I mean, thousands of years old, right? You go to the museums. I mean, it's medieval.
yeah.
But it's beautiful, and the food there, and there's parks everywhere. It's like city, but it's in a park. Like the whole thing is just beautiful trees, and it's just the people are anyway. It's but we thought about there, but yeah, I don't know where else we would, but I'm always looking.
Okay.
So
Well, you're getting into my world. You're getting into real estate. Well,
I know, man.
Your world now. I mean, you have 7
Well,
or 8 or whatever.
but I'm just buying and flipping. I mean, I'm not doing a whole lot. We have a couple properties where we're going to build, and then figure out if we want to flip or rent or retire.
Yeah.
Or all the above. But I do want to keep one place in Cabo, and I want to probably keep a place in Laredo. Laredo is about 5 hours north of Cabo Drive on the Sea of Cortez, and that's like wildlife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, scuba diving, snorkeling, swimming,
Your
paddleboarding,
thing.
golf.
Your thing.
Yeah.
Golf. It's beautiful. It is stunning.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Little rock islands everywhere, but yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's good. I'm happy to hear that you're doing well there and that it's successful because it gives me more motivation to try.
Yeah, it was really inspiring.
I've been very
good.
hesitant. But I'm in the market trying to buy something. I just haven't found anything that makes sense, especially around here. Everything's
Yeah, we should chat.
expensive. Yeah, we should
Let's
chat.
talk about your budget, and then I can just
See if there's something that can work out.
yeah.
Well, again, thank you
Yeah.
for joining me. We can talk offline, but thank you for joining me for the podcast. I know you didn't have to do this. And,
No, I was happy to, man.
and
Thanks for having me. I was honored. I'm like, why the heck you want to talk to me?
I like to talk to.
I think I have one last question.
Yeah,
You mentioned that you lost your father when you were young.
yeah.
How was becoming a father for you?
That's a great question. And we'll have to wait for podcast 2 or 3 for me to get into how my father passed.
Yeah.
It was brutal, but I didn't have. Yeah, so I lost my father when I was 8, and he was a big personality. And then my stepdad was a completely different, like micromanager, in your face all the time. Like I grew up under a dark cloud under my stepdad. I mean, it was brutal. Like the whole time we lived under him. And he wasn't like violently, physically, but he was mentally,
Yeah.
just tortured. Yeah. So I was kind of like making it up as I went. And my oldest, this gets pretty deep. My oldest, there's a 7-year gap between my oldest and my middle son because my oldest was a shock to the system. I was working full time, stressed out like a mofo,
Yeah.
out of the Marines, and he got kind of the brunt of that. Like I wasn't able to be there for him.
Yeah.
I was always stressed out. He was my first kid. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a father figure
To show you
growing up
what
to
it
really
was.
know.
Yeah.
I had no guidelines, right? So unfortunately he kind of felt, a lot of that. I'm trying to make up for that now is like, so as I grew in my career and I was able to afford to take him snowboarding out in Vail, he was a big longboarder, and now, and then he got into snowboarding. But yeah, that strained our relationship. That was tough. And I kind of learned off of him. For my younger two, who think I'm the best dad in the world, probably. I don't know. Yeah, of course, say that. But no, I feel bad too because, I treated him a lot different than I've treated my younger two, just because I learned and grew up.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guilt there, but it was hard because I was like, and I didn't really have a lot of friends with father figures that I was ever really involved. That was never a thing. So I didn't have any
Mentorship.
Yeah, no mentors, no examples. So yeah, that's a good question. It's kind of rough, but I like to hear them say, interview my kids, be like, yeah, that guy's a creep. Like, he's crazy.
No, I doubt that.
No.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's a great question.
I think he's asking because he's dealt with a really close death recently.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure out the way through. It's tough. It's tough trying to sort that sort of stuff out.
Yeah.
And,
I would, when you have a father that dies at 8 too, there's a pretty big hit, I think, on your empathy and your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like I told you, I think after someone that close to you passed, I think you kind of lose emotions. That's how I felt. I couldn't feel anything for I don't know how many months.
Yeah.
But no more I wasn't really happy, even if I was with friends or smiling. Inside I felt like I didn't feel anything.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I don't know if that ever really goes away. There's always a little bit of that. So, and then there's this easy to separate because that was my dad, and you lose that, and then you have to learn to deal with immediate separation. So now I can pretty easily separate from someone if I need to. It's weird. So I think looking back, if I could do it all over again, I would try to have more empathy, especially with my oldest, and more put myself in his shoes. And he's a kid. I was a Marine.
Yeah.
So I'm a disciplined kind of guy, and I have very high expectations, and I should not have had those high expectations. I expected him to be perfect, and that's just ridiculous.
How do you deal with that? I'm struggling with that too, in terms of you want to hold standards and you want to kind of teach kids that you have to do certain things and have responsibilities and be accountable and all these things that you need to do. But without being heavy-handed.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
It's tough.
It is. It's tough. And like I said, the first son, my oldest, it was heavy-handed.
Yeah.
No. But what I learned is you need to coach and mentor and teach, but at the end of the day, you got to let them fail and figure it out.
Okay.
Even though you want to you want to steer them, and you want, but and then again, it's just like managing people. People have different personalities, right? So, my middle son is crazy strong-headed. He'll buck anything I tell him to do, he'll do the opposite. You got to learn how to manage that.
Yeah.
Versus my youngest, who's Mr. the nicest kid in the world, do anything. I don't have to. So it's you have to kind of, not manage, but raise your kids based on their personalities and but again, you got to kind of you can't do. You're a parent. You want your kids to be perfect. You don't want them to get hurt. You don't want.
Yeah.
You want to keep them in a little bubble. But you can't do that. So all you can do is teach them, tell them what you know is right and wrong, how you want them to treat people, what they need to do to be successful based on your experience, and then kind of let them go, or at least try to guide them a little bit.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
It hurts. It's tough.
Yeah.
Especially when you start seeing them slip.
Yeah. And you have boys.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I don't have girls, I think. Right?
Yeah. Well,
Well, first off, I wouldn't be able to drive the car I have because my wife would have them dressed up like dolls.
yeah, I think I don't know. I've never had a boy, but I just figure I think I would struggle. I always say I would struggle with a boy.
Really?
I think I don't think I would have the empathy for a boy that I have for a girl. Just because I don't know. I think that they would. For some reason, I feel like you just have to learn. You can be harder on them. They got to figure out.
No, that's part of it.
Part of it.
Yeah, that's the way I was raised. Because again, lost my dad, and then my stepdad was this micromanaging perfectionist, and I got no assistance, and I had to grow up myself, and then I had to make all my decisions on my own. I had to fight for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I came from nothing. No one gave me any money.
Yeah.
No one launched me into anything. So yeah, I had the exact same mentality with my oldest. It's like, dude, suck it up. I did it.
Yeah.
But
Doesn't work,
No.
pan out well that way. Yeah.
no, so
It has to be parenting classes, but it's one of those things you can't really teach somebody.
maybe that's another adventure we should do is parenting classes. You know, maybe AI can help, like, you know what I mean? We have all these like
Right answer.
all these decision paths based on what's happening.
Well,
Dude, if we could crack that nut, we'd be
Yeah,
solve
I don't
world
know.
hunger.
I can tell you, teenage girls right now, which both of my kids are entering teenage years. Oh my God, it's tough. It's tough, man. Like, I feel like I try the more I try, the worse it is. So I think that your step in terms of like just stepping back might be the best approach.
Yeah, and plus from a just from a society perspective, I'm less concerned that my boys, because they can take care of themselves,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, and I feel like if I had girls, it'd be a lot different.
Yeah.
I'd be out front cleaning my weapons, just letting everyone know I'm loaded. They won't mess with my girls. I don't have to worry about that with
Another question for you: how often should you clean your firearm?
Well, absolutely after you fire it, every time.
Every time.
Yes. Yeah, I fire after. No, you mean after a session?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After every
session,
Oh my God.
clean it and lube it. Yeah.
Oh.
I've only cleaned guns. I've only cleaned weapons like 5 billion times. M16s and 9mm and SIGs and M1s. Yeah, no, I mean you don't have to, but as a military guy, that's absolutely recommended. Yeah.
Okay.
The carbon and the powder, it gets hardened and it's even harder to clean it. So the best thing to do, the easiest way to do it is to clean it after every session. And that way it's not as bad. You let it build up, it's not good.
Okay.
And definitely keep it lubed or you're going to get locked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up.
Yeah. You get jammed and then
What's the point?
then you got a live round in there. And then you got to take it to the smith and it's not pretty. So yeah.
Well, thanks for that advice.
Public service announcement for the. What kind of guns do you have?
I have long guns. 'Cause
Okay.
I don't have a license here, so.
Gotcha.
Are you allowed to, as a military? You can't get a. Actually, they just passed the new law where you don't have to have a license now for concealed carry.
Okay.
I'm asking as a question.
I don't know. So I didn't have to take all the training that you normally would have to give a firearm, but I've got pistols and everything.
Yeah.
But the concealed is kind of recent, and I haven't looked into that. I should.
Okay.
So I used to have, I've got some law enforcement relatives, and they always told me, like, if you're going to think about carrying or not carrying without a license, just think about the risk and do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
That's what they used to tell me. Just, you think you're going to get caught or not.
Yeah.
So, didn't know where you can keep it.
Do you feel like it's? I always felt like it doesn't make a lot of sense for most people to carry, because if you're going to carry, then you already have to make a decision that you're going to use it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that the repercussions of using it are life changing. So
Yeah.
you have to be willing. It has to be a very, very like life threatening situation
Yeah.
for you to actually cross that border, and the chances of that happening rather than it being a rash sort
Right.
of decision. It's hard. So I never felt the need to like try to get a handgun to carry around, even if I know that we can live in dangerous places, but I do feel for like home defense, you definitely need.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. It's a philosophical discussion on carry. I don't want my mom carrying. I don't want her touching, carrying, pushing, holding. Yeah, there's some, like you say, as a military Marine, discipline taught.
Yeah. You're
I
much
think
more-
guys like us are fine because I think we also know situational awareness. As doing MMA, we know when to use it or when not to, or.
That's why I don't care.
But there's a lot of the population though that probably shouldn't have. Like again, I'm all about Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And self-protection and self-defense and all that stuff. But in reality, there's a lot of fruitcakes that should not be walking around with a weapon because they're going to do something stupid, or escalate a situation that shouldn't have been escalated or could have been handled differently.
Yeah.
I know if I'm packing, I know if I'm going for it,
Yeah.
I'm not going to use it unless I go for it, and then it's too late.
Too late.
But at that point, you've already assessed the situation. That's not going on with normal civilians. I don't think they would think that way. So it's.
And
It's
then
a
also
slippery
the
slope.
amount of training that you need to do to make sure that you're responsible with it. You can hit a target. You're not just shooting it anywhere. I don't
Yeah,
think
but
a
think
lot of
about all
people
the.
actually do that.
Not that I'm a big law enforcement supporter, but think about the incidents that have happened, and those guys train, and they still do stupid stuff. Like, again, not on law enforcement. There's bad apples.
Yeah. Right.
But that shows you, even with training, it could, go wrong. So, we were trained never pointing a gun at something you don't intend to shoot.
Right.
Never put your finger on that trigger until you're ready to pull it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All those things. And then, how to handle situations. But yeah, that we did some deep, that's 4 years of active duty training. Like, that's pretty hardcore. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a great question, man. I don't know. I guess if someone knows how to use it and they're there, if something goes down, it's great. But otherwise it could be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's life changing, right?
Yeah.
Shoot somebody, you're gonna remember that day for the rest of your life.
Right.
Not even just talking about the trauma or whatever,
right.
but in terms of just the law. I mean,
right.
you're going to be dealing with crap.
All kinds of stuff,
right? Like explaining why you had to do it in
yep.
courts. And
these days, people playing video games, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pull that trigger and then you see a soul leave a body. Like, that's, yeah.
And then you got to deal with the courts and
exactly.
It can change your life. So anyway,
yep.
But sometimes it's a necessity. That's why I just say, if you're in my house, we can deal with it. I can say,
yeah.
You had no reason to be here. But if I'm outside, then at least for me, it's harder for me to justify, not just because I just think the risks outweigh the rewards.
Yeah.
What I mean? I don't think I find myself in too many situations.
Yeah, I wonder what the probability statistics is on something actually happening. Yeah. Obviously, you see it all over the news, but yeah, it's a good question.
And even if someone robs me, I don't know if it's necessary. I could probably just give them that and tell the bank I need my money back.
Exactly. Yeah.
If they're there and I have a gun, I'm probably going to defend myself because it's just the way we're made up.
Yeah.
That I got to do.
Plus, there's a lot of places you go, you can't even carry. You can't even take a weapon in. Right? You're not concert.
Yeah.
Bank. Yeah. I mean, if someone's shooting up a grocery store, I don't know. I'm in the wrong neighborhood, maybe. I don't know. So I'm trying to figure out, hey, I'm not going to carry one into the airport. You know what I mean? So I travel so much. I don't even know where I'd.
Can you travel with a firearm overseas?
No.
To Mexico?
No.
Not even if it's registered and it's their camera?
No.
Okay.
There's probably some government to government thing that could happen, but not as a civilian. It's funny when we drove down. So we have a vehicle down there. And we buy our vehicles in San Diego because it's an easy drive through Tijuana down. Yeah. It's like a 2 or 3 day drive if you plan it right. But there's stop points along the way, and they have the dogs that come out and sniff around. Mm-hmm. But one trip, they couldn't touch my wife's stuff. Like they're like, we can't touch. Like, what's hers? I'm like, everything. But in my mind, I was thinking, if I was a bad guy, I could just smuggle in some gun parts or weapons into her stuff. Now,
why can't they touch her?
I don't know. The last trip they checked all of her stuff, but that one trip in particular, they said, "Is this yours or hers?" I'm like, "It's hers." Like, oh, we can't look at it, can't touch it. So I don't know if there was, but you don't want to risk getting caught because, dude, the worst place I think you could ever be is a Mexican prison. I'm sure there's some country songs or some jokes about that.
Right.
But it's, Now, when you're down there, I think they do have long rifles you can buy, like for hunting and stuff, which I haven't done. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have a pistol for my house, but I haven't figured out how to get it in there, and I'm not going to do it illegally because I don't want to get in trouble. So,
why would you rather have a pistol?
In the house.
See, I always thought the opposite. I'm thinking I want something that has a bigger spray.
Well, if you're talking about
the night, I'm not trying to make sure I hit something pinpoint. I just want to shoot.
If you have a shotgun, like that's fine. It's short barrel. But for me, going around like especially in the dark, just maneuvering the house or hiding or whatever. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is funny. Another story, real quick. So my stepdad passed away 11 years ago, and my mom. She's in Lynchburg, Virginia. So my wife is a saint. She drives down and is like, help my mom clean out the house, kind of get rid of his stuff. And she comes across this, it's a high-powered 22 rifle that I used to hunt with growing up. That was his. It's beautiful. Woodstock scope.
Wow.
Beautiful. And my wife calls me. She sends me a picture on text. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the rifle I used to hunt with. I'm like, tell my mom I want that, And she's like, okay. She calls me back. She's like, your mom wants to keep it for home defense, self-defense.
Yeah.
It's got a scope on it. It's a rifle.
What's the photo?
I hate to use the R word, but I'm like, Mom, are you retarded? Like, seriously, come on. I'm like, you're just going to get yourself hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you'll be better off calling 911 and just crying and pleading that no one, like, you pull out a rifle with a scope on it, you're not going to hit Jack. You're going to piss somebody off. Anyway, it's kind of funny. So I ended up getting it. She gave it to me, but she hummed and hawed over it.
Yeah.
But now for me, I'm really comfortable with a pistol, and I keep it in a safe right next to me so I can get it out real quick. Yeah. But no, shotgun's not a bad idea. I used to sleep with a shotgun. Yeah. Different life, long time ago. Yeah. A different story. My roommate was a drug dealer. Yeah. When my stepdad made me move out, I had to find a roommate. I didn't know he was a drug dealer. I quickly figured it out. So I slept with a loaded 20 gauge right next to my bed because he had like crack deal, coke dealer coming over all the time. Yeah. I had no idea what was going on. So I was like, yeah, but anyway.
Gosh.
All kinds of good stories.
It must have been a wild life growing up in rural Virginia.
It was. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to do. Well, at the lake, hunting, fishing, that was fun. Water skiing, boating. Yeah. But in Lynchburg, Virginia, there's nothing to do. Except for drugs, party, fights. Yeah. So that's what a lot of my friends did. Yeah, got some crazy stories. So
anyway, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Joining.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for listening. And please look out for the next episode. We try to drop about once a week. So look out for it, and we'll talk to you then. 1, 2, 3, and we're out.